Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. We get together with our distribution partners and now our clients on a daily basis, most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central, to talk about strategies, provide tips, techniques, share success stories, and to support each of you. I did send out this agenda to all of our distribution partners this morning, so you should have it in your email. And we're going to go through and talk about leads. Leads are incredibly important. And some would argue that if your goal is to make money as a distribution partner by helping people, but if your goal is to make money, then you don't need to focus on the money. The money is the outcome. It'll happen automatically. But what you need are conversions. In other words, people that enroll, most likely into the credit and funding program. And to be able to have conversions, we need leads. So there are many different ways to generate leads. Today, we're going to talk about buying leads. Now, some of you are good at generating your own. Lon is on here. He's one of our top distribution partners. He and I just had a conference call yesterday with a very influential faith-based leader. And so, for example, Lon is tapping into other people who have a significant sphere of influence to generate referral flow. That's an example of what we call more organic lead generation. And that's fine. And that's great for Lon. Thank you, Lon. And that's great for those of you that are willing to do that. However, on occasion, I'll have distribution partners say, hey, I'm struggling. I don't have leads. And so we're going to resolve that today. No one should leave at the end of this webinar needing to want for leads anymore. We're going to resolve that as a barrier. But before we talk about leads, which is the key to earning an adult income, I want to make sure we cover the basics. And so if the screen will catch up with me, here we go. I want to cover the basics. And this is a bit redundant, but if we agree on the basics of what you and I do and how we help people, then it makes sense that we would want to help people and generate leads. So let's cover the basics first. There is no upfront cost for the credit and funding program. Now, we have different campaigns, different programs. You'll see that on your replicated site, but we certainly recommend that you all start with the credit and funding program. Get your legs underneath you, get confident, start generating a good income, and then if you want to sprout out and focus on the other programs as well. The credit and funding program does, in fact, have a $999 refundable setup fee, which is one of the ways that you're paid, right? You're paid from that. However, clients don't have to pay for that up front. We can get them financing, and financing is available for everyone. So it's important when you're speaking with prospects to say, hey, there's no upfront cost, which is true because financing is available. This is kind of the rest of the story. Okay, so this overcomes the barrier. If you're, unfortunately, in our society, you almost have to lead with price, because you could offer all the value and the benefit in the world, but if there's an upfront cost, a lot of people will back away from it. Now, with that being said, our experience is around half the people will just pay the refundable setup fee. The other half will finance it, but you just never know what an individual's mindset is. But if you can build into your introductory statement that there is no upfront cost, then that will open up an easier conversation. So hopefully that makes sense. Secondly, it's very important that you understand and maybe can even reiterate what the main benefits of the credit and funding program benefits are. And so we've talked about this before. In addition to no upfront costs, which we covered just a second ago, there are 4 primary things that the client receives. And this is important. We had a group yesterday evening. We were doing a training session for a group, a new team of reps that were hiring and internal, and they ranged from older adults, and we had some younger adults literally still in school. And this is what we really focused on first, is we need to make sure that we can succinctly state to the client what's in it for them, in addition to no upfront cost. So let's go through those 4 value points of value proposition, and then we'll get into the leads. So number 1, we help clients with a credit and funding program for free. We assist them in addressing derogatory credit. What does that mean? Helping them address negative items that are on their credit report. And that makes sense, right? If we don't have such good credit, there's negative items. What might be negative items on a credit report? It could be as simple as that we have too many inquiries. It could be that we have charge-offs, collections, public records like bankruptcies or what have you. So, of course, those make the individual look riskier to anyone that is evaluating them for an extension of credit, whether it be a mortgage or a car loan or business loan, credit card, what have you. So that's the first point of the value proposition. Most people get that, or they understand. I don't have very good credit, or I have bad credit, or I have very bad credit. I want better credit. So this is often what they're thinking about. So this is an easy one, and that's why it's number 1 on the list. That'll resonate with them in most cases. But again, there's 4 elements of the value proposition, not just 1. This is what, we are not a credit repair company, just to clarify that. But if you wanted to identify who's our main competitors, and this will tie into where we get leads in just a second, it would probably be credit repair companies. And so this is what they go out and do, just number 1. They don't do numbers 2, 3, and 4. So you can see that we're 4 times as valuable, 4 times as good. But there's a huge market for credit repair, which again, we're not, just off of addressing number 1. This should be free, of course, but free assistance in adding new positive trade lines. Because what you and I know, if our goal is to have a really high credit score, a good credit profile, it's having the absence of negative and the presence of positive. So we don't show that we've not paid as we promised in the past, and we do show that we do pay as we promise. So it's number 1 and 2 combined that make for a really good credit profile. So that's very important. When you get into the topic of positive trade lines, I don't think anyone will be opposed to that. However, some people are knowledgeable about it and some people aren't. So people that are knowledgeable about trade lines, they're going to be like, wow, this is great. That's valuable. Understand it. And they probably need it. But there's a big portion of society that really doesn't understand the role of trade lines. And so you don't need to spend a lot of time educating them on positive trade lines. But these are the 4 components of the value proposition of the credit and funding program with no upfront cost. So numbers 1 and 2, helping focus on credit. But what do you and I know? If the goal is to get funding, and remember, we're promising these people, which is number 4, we're promising them $100,000 quickly. So how is that possible? Can credit alone accomplish that? It can, with some sources of capital. But what you and I know is that there are 3 C's when it comes to getting approved for funding in general: credit, collateral, and capacity, otherwise known as cash flow. So what you and I offer uniquely with no upfront cost with a credit and funding program is not only help on both sides of the credit equation, but also we help with collateral and cash flow. So this makes it incredibly more valuable than what others do. How do we accomplish that? How is it real? Well, we transfer literally $10,000 of assets over, normally same day or within 24 hours. And those assets then can be pledged as collateral for when the client wants to borrow money, because some lenders, not all, require collateral. And then secondly, we help them liquidate these assets because they're receivables, real accounts receivables, and then that turns into positive cash flow. So the credit and funding program has 4 main benefits. You always want to start with the no upfront cost, and we've defined why that is. There is a refundable setup fee, but financing is available for everyone. And then these 4 points of value proposition. in terms of what's in it for you, because there's lots of benefits, I guess 4 main benefits for the client, but what's in it for you is that you get to help people, which is admirable, but you're making right around $3,000 a client. Not get rich quick, the lottery is get rich quick, right? Go buy a scratch off, and I guess it's not a scratch off, but a lottery ticket, and you have a 1 out of 13 million chance of becoming a millionaire, a multimillionaire. So that's wonderful. This is not get rich quick. This is helping people, making around 3,000 a pop. Most of you are following the pace of 1 client per day. So it's 3,000 a day. I mean, so it's a good side gig. It's not life-changing. It's not like winning the lottery. But the problem is that some of you say, hey, I don't have leads. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is the concept of where to get leads if you don't have leads. So let's go to that then. We'll scroll it on down. I guess we'll cover a bit at a time. Okay, so here we go. So the key to making money is having leads. One of my best friends is a doctor. He owns his own private practice. And it's true for being a doctor, for being an accountant, for being a lawyer, for being an auto dealership. I mean, in general, it's just always true. You need to have leads to generate customers to make money. It could be snow cones, right? You could sell snow cones, but if you don't have any leads to become customers that pay you, then you're going to struggle or perish, not exist. So no business can succeed without leads. Fortunate for you and I, most people, and at least many people, I guess we could debate that, but many people at least are looking for better credit and or funding, especially when we're talking about small business owners. So all you really need to do is let them know that you have a solution to their problem. It's not like we're creating a demand for credit or money. Many people have the problem. They know they have the problem, but they don't know that you have the solution. And so let's continue with that. If you don't have leads, or if you're just frankly not effective in generating your own leads, you can buy leads. Now, the truth is there's different types of leads you could get. You could get funding leads, which is not what we're talking about today. Since we're leading with a credit and funding program, what we're going to present to you today is leading with credit leads. Because again, there's more than just credit that we do, and we're not credit repair, but this here is going to resonate with most people. If they have credit challenges, they're typically aware of that. They realize that's a barrier, and they often desire to fix that. So we're going to go to the customer where their mindset is. But again, there's a lot more that we do. And frankly, there's more to getting funding, you and I know, than just credit in most cases, including having collateral and capacity, which we help them create. All right, so the credit and funding program does much more than just repair credit. Again, we're not credit repair, but we do help repair credit. But individuals who are actively looking for better credit are a great fit. So then at this point, you really need to be able to understand the key points of differentiation. Because if you're approaching credit repair prospects, they're thinking about just credit repair, probably. They're thinking about just number one. Maybe naively, maybe because they don't understand that also adding positive trade lines is going to make a big difference. Maybe because they don't realize that collateral may be required. Maybe they don't realize that cash flow is important. Maybe they don't even understand that guaranteed capital raises legally exist. So here, what we're going to do is make sure that you and I are on the same page in terms of how to clarify to a credit repair prospect that what you and I do is different and better. Number one, the credit and funding program does not have an upfront cost. Well, credit repair may or may not have an upfront cost, but often it will, or almost immediately after. There are laws that prevent credit repair companies from charging an upfront fee unless they meet one of the exceptions, but most of them have figured that out, so they'll hurry up and do a little bit of work and then invoice. So in general, credit repair is going to have an upfront cost. directly or indirectly. But for us, we're able to avoid that because even though there is a refundable setup fee, financing is available. So that's number one differentiation, no upfront cost. The second is that we're going to actually position them for funding. So that gets into the whole concept that we're helping them with all three C's, not just one C. And then thirdly, we have a guaranteed capital raise, which of course, credit repair companies don't offer. When it comes to credit, people are typically motivated to improve their credit because of the utilization of credits. In other words, they want to use their credit for something. Otherwise, it probably wouldn't matter. Maybe they're ready to buy a house. Maybe they're ready to buy a car. Maybe they need financing to start or grow a business. So in general, people get most concerned of their credit when they want to use it. And many people are less concerned about the specifics of their credit if they're not actively looking to use it. Well, when we get down to talking about buying leads, one type of credit repair leads are actually mortgage turndowns. So these are recent people that have applied for a mortgage, but they were declined. There is no hotter audience. There's no better prospect than someone that's looking to use their credit, but they have been unable to. They've been declined because it wasn't good enough. But we'll come back to that in a moment. So the purpose of this list here is to illustrate to you the three primary differences of what you and I do with the credit and funding program as compared to just normal credit repair, which is going to be very relevant if your target audience are credit repair prospects. Hopefully that makes sense. So in summary, we offer a cheaper, faster, more effective solution to their problem. All right, so with all that being said, so we've covered the foundational aspect of what is it that you and I do and how do you benefit. We've talked about the relevance of leads. Now we're going to get into the heart of the matter, two primary ways to buy leads. Now, if your first response is, oh my goodness, buying leads, I don't have the money for that. Set that concern aside for a second until we go through this, because I don't think that'll be a valid issue more than 3 minutes from now. So some of you, again, are producing a high volume because you have your own ways of generating leads, like Sharita is on this morning, and she is wonderful. And she and I have been working on 3 or 4 new clients just from this week. So several of you are really good at what you do. And thank you for that. Others, not to say you're not good at what you do, but others don't seem to have a knack or a resource for leads. So this becomes very relevant. Here's where you can get leads. So let's go through that. Now, you all have heard me talk about Jeff before. Jeff's a real person, and he's our record holder. He had a little bit of a different approach, and some of you have heard me make some references to it. But Jeff, for a period of time, he was averaging over 100 enrollments per week. Now, let's break that down. People that actually enroll. We're not saying he generated 100 leads a week. He generated about 200 leads a week, but he had over 100 enrollments per week. Now, of his leads, he converted around 52 or 53% of them. We'll just call it 50%. So simple numbers, he was generating about 200 leads that went to his landing page, which of course we provided him, and a little over half actually enrolled. So that's great. So there's a success story if you need one. How did he do that? Because he actually, while he was working with us, he left the continental United States and moved his family to Puerto Rico to live on the beach because he was doing so well, which is great. But he didn't know a bunch of people, because that's commonly what I'll hear. Like I was talking to Miss Hurt yesterday, and she's on the training today, and she said, well, Tom, I don't really know that many people. Jeff didn't know any of these people. This is not, and I'm not speaking negatively of network marketing, but this isn't network marketing where you're out pitching your mother and your brother. If your family members would benefit, that's fine, but that's not the focus, right? There's lots and lots of people that want better credit and that want funding. So what Jeff did is he just went out and he bought leads, because those people already had a problem that they were actively looking to solve. There's a concept that we taught before, and I don't want to distract us too much, but it's based upon James Prochaska's trans-theoretical stages of change. And James Prochaska is a PhD. He used to teach, used to be a professor at the University of Rhode Island, and he spent over 20 years researching why do people do what they do. And he broke it down into stages. There are technically 6 stages of change, but we don't have to go too deep into that academic exercise. But the point is, when someone gets to the point in life where they know they have a problem and they're looking to solve it, that's the time to connect with them. So let's use an unrelated example. Let's say that I'm a little bit overweight and I'm ready to lose weight and join a gym. So I'm actively looking for a gym. So that's the point in time that the local gym owners in my community need me to know who they are, because I won't consider them otherwise. Same with cars. I'm ready to go buy a car now. So now is when the car dealerships need to be in front of me because I'm actively looking. Well, in terms of what you and I do, we can buy leads of people that are actively looking to improve their credit. There's also different leads for people looking for funding, but we'll set that aside. There's people looking for credit right now, and you can acquire those leads, and so strike when the iron's hot, if you will. There are 2 primary ways to buy leads, and we're going to go through both of those. The first of which I would encourage you to start with, quite frankly. So I'm unaffiliated with either of these, so you can do whatever you want. But I would start with hiring a gig worker. And if that's not familiar to you, that just means someone that works projects. And you can find these gig workers who will generate leads for you on sites like Upwork, Fiverr, and I'm sure there's others. Now, when you do a search, you could say lead generation or credit repair lead generation, and it'll pop up the people that do it, and it'll tell you about their history and their success stories and their rates and so forth. At the core, what you and I are talking about is them generating leads. But certainly you could have gig workers also set appointments for you for those leads. You could even have gig workers that even close the deal for you. So you're just managing the process. That's up to you. But I'm not really trying to get into all of this. My point is that you can get a gig worker, often from third world countries, so they work for a very affordable rate, who will generate leads for you. So in preparation of our training today, I did a quick search. I went on Fiverr and I found a young lady named Ambrose K. I don't know Ambrose, never talked to her, never worked with her. I don't have a relationship with her, but just to give you a more tangible example, and maybe you can find Ambrose K too if you go to Fiverr. It was just a Google search. But what Ambrose provides, for example, is 50 exclusive credit repair leads. Now, Ambrose may live in a third world country and she wants to provide great value, but she doesn't work for free. She needs to support herself, so she will charge $50. But think about that for a second. If you could go get 50 hot leads, not just a list of people, but 50 hot leads that no one else is getting for $50. So you're paying a buck a piece for those leads. If you just close one of those leads, it would make a lot of sense financially, because you're making 100 up front plus 3% on the back end. But as we've seen with Jeff, you probably will close a lot more than 1 out of 50. But the bottom line is, this is a no-brainer. If you don't have lead flow coming through, if you don't have your own skill set or sphere of influence to generate leads, then I would be buying leads. Because again, if you're a small business consultant, when you came aboard, we waived your license agreement fee in the exchange that after a 30-day grace period, you promised to generate at least 2 clients a week, 8 a month. And that's very, very doable. That's not a high threshold. So if you're not hitting your numbers, this is a great way to hit your numbers. So you're making money, you're staying compliant, because otherwise you're going to get invoiced for that license fee. So this is one way to buy leads. Another way to buy leads, which is frankly what Jeff did. Jeff didn't use a gig worker. Jeff went to one of these sites, and you can Google credit repair leads and you'll find many. And iCreditLeads.com is one, and they have their prices. Here's what I found. And again, I'm unaffiliated with all of these. What these companies are charging a markup. So it's like the difference of if you needed a handyman, just hiring the handyman versus going through a handyman service where there's a markup. I think number one is your best way to go, because you can do a small scale project with someone like Ambrose, and either you're happy with it or you're not, right? If you're not, then I guess you ask for a refund. If you're happy with it, you do more. And there's many people like Ambrose that can provide these services. So if I were you, I would advocate going to Upwork or Fiverr, or find someone you feel comfortable working with, and they'll generate leads for you. But another option, which again is what Jeff did, is he went to one of these companies that he bought in packages, but the prices are almost always higher on number two. So there you have it. Of course, if you need working capital, you can always go to our free funding proposal page and we can get you funding offers, but that's not the primary point. So let me wrap up my point and then get to any questions that any of you have. So where we started is just quite simply, what you and I do is needed, it's credible, of course it's legal, and it can be very profitable. But the key to profit as a small business consultant is you need leads, because without leads, you won't have conversions, and without conversions, you won't have income. So if your income's not where it needs to be, it's probably one of two problems. Either you don't have enough leads, or your conversion technique is flawed. And we've had separate trainings about how to convert a high percentage of people. It's not go send your link out to a bunch of people. It's to create awareness, get on the phone with them, text them your link, and walk them through your replicated site, the credit and funding page. We average about 90% conversion if you do it that way. I know some of you want more of a hands-off approach. And again, frankly, Jeff took a hands-off approach. Jeff never talked to any of the prospects. But regardless, we've talked about the value proposition to the client and to you. We've emphasized how important it is to have leads, which I think makes sense, but I think sometimes we just get so busy and it's like, well, this isn't working for me, I'm not making any money. Well, why aren't you making any money? Often it's because I don't have any leads, or I don't have enough leads, or I have 2 leads and I can't get them to close, or the only leads you have are friends or family members, and they look at you and say, oh, it doesn't look like you're doing so well financially. Why are you giving me financial advice? So let's avoid that, and let's go out to the marketplace. There's lots and lots of people, thousands and thousands of people every day that have mortgage declines and or are looking for improved credit. Connect your hose to that running faucet. To me, it makes all the sense in the world. Now, again, Ambrose is great, and if you want to ask her to work for you for free, that's fine. I mean, whatever you and Ambrose work out. But in general, people like Ambrose don't work for free. They work very affordably, $50. But you might approach Ambrose and say, hey, how about this? I will pay you $1,000 for every lead that you generate that converts, because I'm going to end up making 3% of the client's capital raise, Ambrose. How about I pay you 1% of that? So what's my point? You can get free leads, which was the topic of today's session, by going to these folks and offering them a revenue share if you want. Now, some of them will say, no, I just want $1 per lead, 50 per 50, which is fine. But some of them are more entrepreneurial and will defer any upfront cost in exchange for a sharing of the back-end rewards. But that's between you and them. We're not a middleman on this transaction. We don't sell leads. You're not going through us. We don't get any kickbacks off this. So let's see who has questions, comments, concerns on our topic today, which is buying leads to make money. Eddie says, great information. Thank you, Eddie. Appreciate that. Alonzo asked, are there any clients who would not qualify for credit and funding? Well, we have really developed the credit and funding program to not have barriers. So there's not excuses. There's not reasons of why someone couldn't participate. So they could have open public records, they could have lawsuits, they could have judgments that would not preclude them from participating. So in general, no. They would need to enroll, and then they need to pay the refundable setup fee. But again, that can be financed, they can pay that. And we'll never fall into that trap of someone saying, well, that won't work for me, I won't get approved. No, we have over 40 different lenders, banks, credit unions, alternative financing companies, nonprofits, micro lenders. We can get financing for everyone, absolutely everyone. So that isn't a concern. So with that being said, the encouragement is, let's make money together. Let's help people. I know. But let's make money together. And the way that you're going to make money is getting people plugged into the credit and funding program. They'll get the fourfold benefit. They'll be very happy, and you'll do very well for yourself. If all they can do is plead with you. If you're not generating at least 2 deals a week, you're not in compliance. And that, according to your license agreement, means you owe the license fee. We don't want you to pay the license fee. We don't. We want you to perform. We want you to make money so we can all go help people together. So for any of you, I encourage you to at least consider giving this a try. Go buy 1 batch of leads or work out some sort of revenue share with Ambrose or her peers. But I encourage all of you, let's try this. Let's get you 50 leads, hot leads, exclusive leads, and let's just try this for the next week. And then we can report back and see where you're at. Worst case scenario, you sold none, which would mean something's definitely broken, but that's probably not going to happen. Worst case scenario is you only enroll a couple. Well, my goodness, if you're making $3 grand, as long as you enroll 1, you've met your break even. So again, Eddie mentions he's not seeing Ambrose. I don't know. I looked at her this morning, or I did a Google this morning, and she came up. She actually had a sponsored ad on Google for Fiverr, but don't worry about her individually. You can just go into Fiverr and do a search on credit repair leads, and it'll come up with people that will generate leads for you. Yeah, so don't worry about Ambrose individually. And she might have gotten so much business from our promotion this morning, she might have shut her offers down. I don't know. But yeah, don't worry about her individually. Fiverr is a site, as is Upwork, that have many, many, many gig workers from all over the globe. All right, well, thanks, everyone. We'll see you back tomorrow morning. If you need any help, you know where to reach us. Have a good day. Thanks. Bye.